Eyes that don't obey. We never spoke about it. But our eyes did. Violation 1. It started with smoke. The faint smell of smoke didn't belong on a college campus. It was out of place, a disruption in the sterile air of academia. Yet it lingered, sharp, careless, unapologetic. Min Yoongi stopped mid-step. His eyes narrowed slightly as he followed the scent, each step slow, controlled, until he rounded the corner to the back of the building, that hidden alcove where rules were usually forgotten. And there he was. Kim Taehyung was leaning against the weathered brick wall like he owned the place, a cigarette burning between his fingers, completely at ease. The graffiti on the wall behind him, "Skip class, not responsibility," seemed to mock the very air Yoongi was trying to enforce. Yoongi watched him for a second longer than necessary. No hesitation, no guilt, just that lazy, infuriating calm that seemed to radiate off Taehyung like heat. "Put it out." Yoongi's voice cut through the stillness, cold, precise, and demanding. Taehyung didn't even flinch. Instead, he took another drag, his movements agonizingly slow. Deliberately, he held the smoke in his lungs for a heartbeat before exhaling, the gray cloud drifting toward the dim light of the wall lamp. Only then did he turn his head just enough to meet Yoongi's eyes. There it was again, that look. It wasn't disrespect, and it certainly wasn't fear. It was something worse, disobedience. Yoongi stepped closer, his expression unreadable, his presence imposing. "Did you not hear me?" Taehyung shrugged slightly, his posture barely shifting as he tapped the ash onto the concrete. "I heard you. Then why are you still standing here?" A silence stretched between them, heavy and charged. Then, a faint, slow smirk curved on Taehyung's lips. "Because I want to." The answer was simple, too simple. Yoongi's jaw tightened, the muscle jumping as he fought for composure. Principal's office. Now. For a moment, it felt like the air itself held its breath. Taehyung looked at him, really looked at him this time, as if he were measuring the exact distance between Yoongi's authority and his own defiance. For a moment, it felt like the air itself held its breath. Taehyung looked at him, really looked at him this time, as if he were measuring the exact distance between Yoongi's authority and his own defiance. Then, without another word, he flicked the cigarette to the ground and crushed it under the sole of his shoe. No apology, no argument, no fear, he just started walking. He passed Yoongi with an ease that made the space feel suddenly cramped, moving close enough for the lingering scent of smoke, and something deeper, something sharper, to brush past Yoongi like a challenge. Yoongi didn't turn, he didn't stop him, he didn't call him back to finish the lecture. He just stood still, his eyes fixed on the retreating figure. Sharp, unsettled, because it wasn't the smoking that bothered him. It was the way Kim Taehyung looked at him, as if rules were nothing more than suggestions that didn't apply to him at all. And for the first time, Yoongi wasn't sure if they did. The apartment was bathed in the soft, honeyed glow of evening, the space curated with a deliberate, minimalist elegance that felt more like a sanctuary than a home. Beside the plush, neutral-toned bed, a floor-length mirror with an organic, wavy frame stood like a silent sentinel. In front of it, a sleek pedestal table held a simple vase with delicate, budding branches, while a smaller iron stand beside it supported two flickering candles, their flames dancing rhythmically in the stillness. The door clicked shut, and just like that, the strict professor disappeared. Min Yoongi stood still for a moment, his hand resting on the lock, his knuckles white as he held it firmly in place, as if making sure no one else could enter. Silence filled the apartment, thick and heavy, wrapping around him like a shroud. No students, no rules, no eyes watching him. Only then did he move. Slowly, he walked toward the mirror across the room, his expression unreadable, but the tension in his shoulders hadn't left. It never did. His fingers hesitated at the edge of his shirt, a brief, sharp pause hanging in the air. Then he pulled it off. The fabric dropped to the floor, soft against the silence. Yoongi's gaze lifted. The mirror reflected everything he kept hidden. A body that didn't match the image he showed the world. Slim, fragile-looking, deceptive, not weak, but not something this world would accept either. His jaw tightened. "This is enough," he muttered under his breath, though the words felt brittle, failing to sound convincing even to himself. On the bed, neatly folded, so carefully it almost hurt to look at, lay the clothes he never allowed anyone to see. Softer fabrics, lighter, different, not wrong, just dangerous. For a long moment, he didn't move. He didn't reach for them. He didn't look away from his own reflection. Because the fear wasn't about being exposed, it was about what would happen after. This college, this place, this world, didn't allow someone like him to exist safely. Not here, not among alphas who believed strength gave them the right to take. Yoongi's fingers curled slightly at his sides. He wasn't scared of being an Omega. He was scared of what others might do because of it. Slowly, he exhaled, forcing his expression back into something colder, something controlled. Something safe. Tomorrow, he whispered quietly, no one will know. But even as he said it, his eyes flickered. Not with doubt, but with the quiet, unspoken truth he refused to say out loud. Someone already noticed, and he didn't even realize it yet. Next day. The morning sun filtered into the kitchen, casting long, golden shadows across the white tiled floor and highlighting the serene, minimalist space. The wooden dining table sat at the center of the room, adorned with a simple basket of flowers, while the soft, warm light from the rattan pendant lamp hung above, creating an atmosphere of quiet domesticity. The next morning felt normal. At least, it tried to. Yoongi stood in the kitchen, pouring himself a cup of coffee, the quiet hum of the house wrapping around him like something familiar, something safe. Then, arms slipped around his waist from behind. A back hug. Yoongi didn't flinch, didn't tense. Instead, a small, rare smile touched his lips as he reached back and ruffled the soft hair behind him. Hoseok. Hoseok whined instantly, pulling back, hands flying to fix his hair. Why do you always do that? It's my favorite hairstyle. Yoongi turned slightly, amusement flickering in his eyes. And you're my favorite little brother. I'm grown up, Hoseok shot back, pouting. Still little for me. Hoseok huffed, clearly offended, but it only made Yoongi let out a quiet chuckle as he sat down at the table. A second later, Hoseok dropped into the seat across from him. For a moment, it was just them. Breakfast, silence, comfort. Then, Hoseok spoke again, this time more serious. Don't forget to use your scent blocker. Yoongi didn't even look up. I won't forget. Hoseok narrowed his eyes slightly. If you say you forgot one day, his voice lowered, something sharp slipping through, I won't just hurt that alpha who touches you. I'll destroy him. Yoongi scoffed, finally glancing at him. I'm your I've seen the world before you. Don't lecture me. Fine, Hoseok shot back immediately. Then don't lecture me when I beat someone up. Fuck off. I wouldn't, FBCK off and back off. A small silence followed, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It never was. Hoseok went back to eating, though his eyes still flickered toward Yoongi every now and then, as if making sure he was okay. Yoongi noticed. Of course he did, he always noticed. That's why, he chose to ruin the moment. Did you get a chance to kiss your boyfriend? Hoseok choked. He coughed, grabbing his water. Why are you asking things like that? It's embarrassing. Yoongi leaned back slightly, completely unbothered. So that's a no. We're just taking it slow, Hoseok muttered, avoiding eye contact. Yoongi hummed. Keep taking it slow, and you'll end up kissing a coffin instead. Hoseok whined again, face turning red. This time, Yoongi actually laughed, quiet but real. They finished eating not long after, leaving the plates behind as they stood up. Routine, familiar, safe. But as they got up and started walking towards the end of the dining area, Hoseok spoke again, softer this time. Just be careful. Yoongi didn't answer immediately, didn't look back, but after a second, I always am. And with that, they stepped out into a world that wasn't nearly as safe as this one. Few hours later, the staff room was a space of sterile, muted tones, wooden cabinetry, a modest circular table, and the quiet hum of an office. It was a place designed for productivity, not for the sudden, suffocating shift in the air that occurred when Min Yoongi's pen stilled against his paper. The scratch of pen against paper had been the only sound filling the quiet staff room. Yoongi hadn't looked up once. Focused, precise, unbothered, question after question formed neatly under his hand, the upcoming internal exam taking shape exactly the way he wanted. Control. Everything was about control. Then, his hand stilled. A subtle shift. Barely noticeable, but Yoongi felt it, a warmth, wrong, sudden, curling low in his body. His grip on the pen tightened. Number. It wasn't supposed to happen now. Not here, not in the middle of the day. Yoongi pushed his chair back abruptly, the sound sharp against the silence as he moved toward his desk drawer, opening it quickly. Empty. For a second, he just stared. Then faster, checking again, more urgently this time. Nothing. His breath hitched, controlled but strained. The suppressant, he muttered under his breath. Gone. Without wasting another second, Yoongi grabbed his phone, fingers moving quickly. On the phone, Hoseok. Hung. Yoongi. It's starting. The reply came almost instantly. Hoseok. What? Now? Where are your suppressants? Yoongi swallowed, forcing himself to stay steady. Yoongi. They're missing. There was a pause. Then, Hoseok. Don't stay there. Get out of the college. Now. Yoongi. I'm on my way. On the phone end, Yoongi exhaled slowly, trying to keep his body under control, trying to ignore the way his senses were starting to blur at the edges. Just a few minutes, he whispered. He could manage that. He had to. Outside the staff room, the long, clinical hallway stretched out, lined with pillars and potted plants, quiet in the midday lull. A small bottle rolled slightly against the ground. Unnoticed. Except, it wasn't. Kim Taehyung leaned casually against the wall, having skipped class without a second thought. His eyes dropped to the object near his shoe. A small container. Unfamiliar. He bent down, picking it up, turning it slightly between his fingers. Something about it felt important. His gaze shifted toward the staff room door. Curious now, the door opened. Yoongi stepped out, and immediately, something felt wrong. The hallway was quiet, class time. But his instincts were louder. Too loud. And then, he saw him. Taehyung, standing there, watching. Their eyes met, and Yoongi's breath faltered for just a second. That gaze again, but this time, it felt different. Heavier, sharper, like it was seeing through something. Taehyung tilted his head slightly, his expression unreadable, but his eyes narrowed just enough to show it. Suspicion, interest, something deeper he didn't fully understand yet. Yoongi's fingers curled at his side. This was bad, too close, too dangerous, and worse, his body reacted. A subtle weakness in his limbs. A flicker of something instinctive he hated. Because that was an alpha's presence. Before the silence could stretch any further. Hung. The voice cut through everything. Fast, urgent, relief. Hoseok. He reached Yoongi in seconds, immediately stepping in front of him, blocking, shielding, instinctively placing himself between Yoongi and Taehyung. His eyes darkened as they locked onto Taehyung. A warning, clear, dangerous. But before anything could escalate, Yoongi's hand caught Hoseok's wrist. Don't. His voice was low, but firm. Hoseok hesitated, his jaw tightened. For a second, it looked like he might ignore it. But then, he clicked his tongue, looking away. You come first. Without another word, he turned back to Yoongi, steadying him carefully. Taehyung didn't move, didn't speak. He just stood there, watching, thinking, as the two walked away. And in his hand, that small bottle remained. Unnoticed. Or maybe, not anymore. To be continued.